Hello everybody, this is Ananya and we're back with the fourth lecture of the Python series. This is a continuation of studying operators. We had covered around I guess four or five operators, types of operators in the previous session. So let's not waste time and go ahead with learning the remaining ones. Okay, so today first we'll be learning membership operators. Now, membership operators, on hearing the word, you all might have an idea that it's about owning something, right? There's a person A and an object B. So membership means that A owns the object B. Okay, so using that pictorial idea, let's understand these two operators in membership. Okay, we have in and not in. So how are they used? Let's just directly code and understand. Okay, it'll help you get the best idea. Okay, let's take a list. Okay, now you all might not know what is a list, but for now let's just understand it, and the topic lists will be taught later on. Okay, let's say my list. Okay, and a list is basically holding strings or certain any character related or numerical related components or elements. Okay, so how, let's take strings this time. Let's say dog. Okay, let's say dog and cat, and then we have rabbit. Okay, let's add in a hamster also, it's a pretty cute animal. Okay, alright, now we have a list called my list, and it has these four elements inside it. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to check if another animal, let's say a squirrel, if I want to see if squirrel is present in my list or not, what we can simply do is squirrel, in quotes, squirrel in let's just my list. Okay, squirrel in my list. And let me say print it. Okay, and let's run it. False. See, we don't have squirrel in this list, so squirrel in my list returns us with a false value. Similarly, let's check hamster. Okay, hamster, let's run it. It gives us true, that yes, hamster is present in the list. Alright, now since hamster is present, and if I say not in, it should give me a false, obviously, because hamster is there. So not in will give me a false. Let's run it. See, we get a false. Is that simple as that? Right now you all might be wondering that I can just by using my senses, I can simply understand that yes, hamster is there or not. Like, I can see it, hamster is there, so why do I need to do all this? But whenever you're dealing with a huge amount of data, and it's like huge, you cannot sit and scan each and every list or tuple or dictionary with your own eyes. That is not, it's impossible, you can't do that. That is when in not in comes as a great savior, and it's very useful then. All right, now that we're done with membership operators, I hope you all have understood, it's very easy. Let's go ahead with the identity operator. Okay, now what does identity operator tell us? That is it, if for example I am Ananya and I want to check if I am Ananya or not. Might sound funny, but that is basically what identity operators do. Is or is not, it checks if the ID of something is the same or not. Okay, let's practically run it. Okay, so it has to say has shared the same identity. All right, let me just show it to you. So if there are two operands, okay, and it has the same identity, it will return as true, otherwise it returns false. Now let's take an example, 3 and 35. Okay, now 3 is not the same as 35, so it will give us false, right? So let's see, print 3 is 35. Okay, 3 is 35. It should return me a boolean value saying false. Okay, because 3 is not 35. Let's run it. See, it gives us false. Okay, now let me say is not. Okay, is not 35. This is correct, so it should give me true. Okay, so we get a true. Now let's try another thing. Might seem a little confusing, but you'll understand. I'm saying 2 is not 2. Okay, now y'all might say ki Baba, 2 is 2, what is wrong in this? So in case y'all have noticed, I have given this 2 in quotes. I've given it in quotes, and this 2 is a simple integer number and this is a string. So the integer class and the string class are obviously not the same. The identity is not the same, so it is going to give us a false. But now if I remove the quotes and make it an integer, now this should give me true. See, you get a true. All right, so is and is not is basically checking identity. All right, so we are done with membership and identity operators. Let's go ahead with bitwise operators. Now bitwise operators is a little let's say a little complicated or a little vast. You all need to understand a few concepts for this, so let me just explain. It's going to take a little while, but let's just keep our patience and try. All right, first we have the AND, the bitwise operator. We have binary AND. Okay, here this thing that you see, AND, it's the ampersand symbol on your keyboard. Okay, so insert the text box. Let's take a new color this time. All right, big enough for you to see. Okay, we have the ampersand bitwise operator. Okay, now ampersand is basically doing an AND operation. Now previously we had learned this AND operator. Okay, so we were checking there if something is true or not, the logical AND operator. Don't get confused with the symbol AND this AND. the ampersand and here, they are quite different, but let's just understand now. Okay, for example, you have two values a and b. Let me insert a table so it will be easy for you to understand. um, okay, hold on. Okay, now I have a variable a here. Okay, and here I have another variable b, and here I am storing result. Okay, I am doing the AND operation here. Okay, we are doing the AND operation. So let's give values here. If a is false, sorry, if a is false, that is 0. Okay, 0 resembles false, and b is false. Here a is false but b is true. A is true, b is false, and here both are true. Okay, here it's basically dealing with binary values. Okay, so it's the same concept that we learned previously. If both of them are false, ampersand, that is bitwise AND, results into false. Okay, if only one of them is true, that is either a is true and b is false, or a is false and b is true, it still gives a 0. That is, it still gives a false. It has to have both the values as true. A true and b true gives the result as true. Okay, so 0 0 gives us 0, 0 1 gives us 0, 1 0 gives us 0, and 1 1 both true, that is both true, gives us true. Okay, this is the AND bitwise AND operator. Alright, now let's study bitwise OR. Okay, we resemble it using this vertical line here. Now let's see how it varies. Okay, a is false, b is false, result is false. Okay, a or b gives us false here. Now the difference is, in OR, if any one of the variable is true, the result becomes true. It doesn't matter if or it doesn't play a very important role that both have to be true. That is not at all necessary in binary OR operator. Okay, so 0 1 gives us 1, 1 0 1, and 1 1 is 1. Alright, now we have binary XOR. Now XOR is symbolized using the Cater symbol on your keyboard. Okay, this is your Cater symbol. It is for XOR. Let me just type. It is XOR. Okay, so what it does basically is, again, XOR is follows a simple rule. If both are the same, then it is false. If both are different, then it is true. Okay, so 0 0 will give us 0 here, and 1 1 will also give us 0. Okay, it doesn't like having both the symbols as true. Okay, not true, both, it doesn't want both a and b as same. Okay, if it is same, it simply gives us false. If any one of them is true, then we also get the result as true. Okay, so this is these were some of the basic binary operations and rules that we need to know and follow. for performing bitwise operators. So we learned AND, OR and XOR. Okay, now let's go back to the slide. Okay, so see, here you have bitwise AND, bitwise OR, bitwise XOR. This is known as complement, that is one's complement. I guess I will have to teach that also in case you all do not know. Okay, this is one's complement. It's basically negating it. All right, we'll see that in detail. This is your left shift, that you are shifting to the left, and this is shifting to the right. Okay, let's understand all that one by one now. Let's take the complement, one's complement, left shift and right shift. All right, let's come here and let's understand that now. Okay, so first let's look into binary one's complement. Okay, so binary one's complement, what it basically does is, in your binary string that you have, it simply flips the zeros to ones and ones to zeros. Okay, so 0 becomes 1 and 1 becomes 0 on applying one's complement. Okay, so this is basically the tilde sign. Okay, this is binary one's complement. Okay, now each number and each letter has its own binary string. Okay, for example, let us take the number 2. Okay, so now how is 2 resembled in binary format? It is in the 8-bit format, it is shown as 1 0. Okay, this is how 2 is resembled in binary format. Now if we were to apply one's complement to the number 2, what we get is, as we just learned, zeros become 1 and ones become 0. So let's see what we get. Okay, so this is what we got on applying tilde, that is one's complement, to the number 2. Now you all might get confused as to what number is this. I'm not able to understand anything. This is actually a -3 in binary. Okay, so I'll just run it for you on the IDE and show it to you all. So 2 basically gives you a -3 on applying one's complement. Okay, so there is a basic trend that is followed, most probably, I guess. Let's just check it out. Whatever number that you are applying one's complement to, you get the next number. That is, if you do 2, you will get 3. If you do 4, you will get 5, but only the negative of it. So 2 gives you -3, 5 gives you -6. I guess that is how it works. Let's just try it out. Okay, and we are done with binary one's complement. Okay, now let's study the remaining ones, that is left shift and right shift. This is our left shift. Okay, left shift binary operator. Now let's say 2 left shift by 2. Okay, I want to shift 2 by 2 places. Now 2 is again resembled as 1 0 in binary, but this time I'm just writing it as 8-bit so that y'all can actually understand how left shift and right shift works. Okay, this is basically writing it in 8-bit format. Okay, so what it is asking me to do is, I want to shift each place here each number twice towards the left. Okay, I want to shift it towards the left. So what do I do for that? Let me just show it to y'all pictorially. Okay, I want this to shift to the left twice. Okay, so what happens is, if you shift it to the left twice, y'all can just take a pen and paper and try it out by yourselves. This 10 here will shift here. Okay, y'all can try it out. It'll help y'all understand better. So the number that we get is 0 0 0 0 1 0 and then 0 0 again. So basically I'm shifting each number to the left and then pushing a 0 to the right hand side. Let me show you all step by step, it might help you all understand. So we have 4 zeros and then 0, then I shift it for the first time, for the first left shift I get 0 1 0 0. Okay, this is the first time shifting, and the second time shifting I get is 1 0 0 0. Okay, so you see how it shifted towards the left twice. Now this number is actually the decimal number 8. Okay, so by shifting binary 2 twice we got the number 8. Okay, so this is how left shift works. Now I hope this is clear. In case you all are confused, just listen to it once again and try it out, maybe taking different example. Take 3 or maybe 1 and try it. All right, you all will understand, it's nothing very difficult. Okay, now let's understand what right shift does. Okay, now for right shift, maybe let's take, I want to shift 3 twice to the right. Okay, I want to shift 3 twice to the right. So we just saw 3 is actually 11 in binary. Okay, so it is quite understandable that if we are shifting 3 twice to the right, you will get all zeros. Okay, the result simply gives us 0. Since you are shifting 2 to the right and you inputting zeros to the left again, so obviously we are going to get 0. Now if this was 1, okay, if instead of 2 it was 1, then we would get the answer as 1, since this digit would still be remaining after the first right shift. Alright, so we are done with right shift now. Let's start from the beginning. We have AND, OR and XOR. Okay, let's try these 3 out first. Okay, let me say print 3 and 2. So what happens here is, let me mathematically show it to you all. You have the number 3, that is zeros, zero zero 1 1. This is 3, and is basically doing a plus, like doing addition. Okay, 0 0 1 1 with 2, that is 0 0 1 0. Okay, what you all are doing is adding it here. So the answer that we get is 0 0 1 0. Okay, the answer that you get is, first start from the right hand side. Okay, 1 and 0 will give you what? 1 and 0 gives us 0, right? 1 and 1 gives us 1, right? 0 and 0 gives us 0. Again 0 and 0 gives us 0. Okay, so this is the answer that you get on applying the bitwise AND operator. Okay, 2 and 3 gives us 2. Okay, 3 and 2, let's see what we get. Control S, saving it, run it. Okay, see, we get 2 here. We saw it in the binary format there. Here it converts the inside operations that goes on, it's all in binary. The interpreter is really user friendly, so it gives us the answer in decimal format. 3 and 2 gives us 2. Now let's try the same thing with OR. Okay, let's give OR, 3 or 2. Let's see what we get. We got 3. Okay, now let's just try something else. Let's see if the pattern is the same. Let's say 5 or 6. Okay, 5 or 6, we are getting 7 here. Alright, so you all can try this out and maybe try it out on pen and paper, and then see if the answer matches according to your code. Alright, let's do XOR also and see what number we get. 5 XOR 6. Okay, Control F11. 3. We got 5 XOR 6 as 3. Let's just try it out once, maybe it'll become clear. Now the number 5 is 1100, 101, right? So it's 101. 5 is 101 and 6 is 110. Okay, now on applying XOR to this, let's see what we get. Okay, now what we had learned, 1 and 0 with XOR gives us 1, that is true. Now 0 and 1 again gives us 1. 1 and 1 both are the same, so it's not acceptable, give 0. 0 and 0 both are the same, not acceptable, give 0. Okay, see, we got the number 3 here. 11 stands for 3. Okay, so we understood all this. Now AND, OR and XOR understood, checked, all done. Alright, now let's go with the ones complement, left shift and right shift. Let's look at the examples that we had done. We'll do the same ones. See, tilde of 2. Okay, let's see what it gives us. Okay, what we want to do is tilde of 3. Okay, sorry, we were doing 2. Tilde of 2. Okay, so you see we got the number -3, just how we had got during our concept understanding. Okay, now let's go ahead with a left shift and right shift. Let's say print 2 left shift by 2. Remember we had got the answer 8. Alright, let's run it. See, we got an 8 here. We had got an 8. Alright, now let's do right shift. Right shift 3 by 1. Okay, let's see what we get. Right shift 3 by 1. So we should be getting 1, right? By 1. Okay, see, we get a 1 here. Okay, so now that we're done with all the operators, we have learned 7 different types of operators, solved many examples, like, you know, understanding point of view. So we have seen everything practically. So let's get a little in depth with exercises. Okay, let's solve maybe 5-6 examples so that our concept becomes more clear, and we are just all ready to deal with operators whenever we have to. Okay, let me just make a new file so that nothing becomes very messy. Okay, let's give a file name operator exercise. Okay, uh, this has turned into something else. Operator exercise. Okay, dot py. Finish. Okay, let's take the first example as finding the area of a square. Okay, so what is the formula for the area of a square? It is side square. Okay, so now you understand we have to do side raised to 2. Okay, now side raised to 2 means we have to use the double asterisk sign, right? So let's do that. First we take the input side. We are storing it in the side variable. Let's tell the user to enter the side of a square. Okay, we have taken the input. Let's take the variable maybe area. Okay, in area let's store side double asterisk, that is raised to 2, that is side into side. Okay, now let's print area. Let's say the area of the square is, and let's concatenate this integer value with this string. Okay, so this is the integer value, area is the integer value, and this is the string. Okay, let's see what we get. Let's enter the side of the square. Let's say 5. Okay, see, you get the area of the square is 25. Okay, as simple as that. Now let's take a more complicated polygon. For example, let's take a trapezium. Now let me just revise just to help you all understand a little better. For example, this is your trapezium. Okay, and this is your shorter side, that is, let's name it A. This is A. I hope that's visible. Wait, let me make it bigger. Okay, this is your side A. Now this is your side B, the longer one. Okay, this is side B. Okay, and this is your height. Okay, we know that this is your height. Okay, this is your height. Okay, that will be h. Now the formula that you use is a plus b divided by 2 into h gives us the area of a trapezium. Okay, so this is h. Alright, so what the formula says is you have a plus b, okay, divided by 2, and then multiply this entire thing with the height, right? So let's just take an example here. For example, a is let's say 4. Okay, a is 4, then b is 6. all right, b is 6, and your height will be for example, let's say 2. Okay, so both of the upper and lower sides, parallel sides, are of length 4 and 6 and height is 2. So on calculating this, what the answer that we get is a plus b, that is 4 plus 6, 10. 10 divided by 2 gives us 5, and 5 into 2 again gives us 10. Alright, so our answer should be 10. Now let's do it practically on Eclipse. Okay, let's take take the input as a, enter side 1 of the trapezium. Okay, now let's take the other side B. Similarly, enter side 2, store that in B. Now let's take the height, let's store it in H, enter the height. Okay, side 1, side 2, height. Now area will be what? A plus B, okay, divided by 2 into H. Okay, this is what we want. So the area of the trapezium is, and then we say area. Now we all know this BODMAS rule, that is, first the brackets get executed. So we'll get 4 plus 6, that is 10. Then we'll have division happening, 10 divided by 2, that is 5. And then multiplication will happen, that is 5 into 2, it should give us 10. Okay, let's run it now. Let's see if the computer also follows the same rule. Side 1, that is 4, side 2 6, and height was 2, right? Okay, see, we got area of the trapezium is 10. So we can interpret that yes, the computer also follows the same mathematical convention of the BODMAS rule. Alright, so we found the area of a square, we found the area of a trapezium. Now let's carry out another example. For, let's say I want to try out the logical AND operator. Okay, now but this time in a little more complex format. In a variable x, let us store a float number 10.0. okay, now in another variable, let's say y is equal to, the LHS side will be x is, let's say x is less than 25. okay, my LHS is less than 25 and RHS will be x mod 2 is equal to 0. okay, so x mod of 2 is equal to 0. okay, so this part is true. okay, now this depends if we should be getting a 0 also here, right? Because 10 mod 2 is equal to 0. Let's see what we get. Okay, I need to print y also. See, we get a true. Okay, so LHS is true, RHS is true, so we get the value of y as true. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's take a more complex example of the BODMAS rule. Okay, in a variable I have maybe answer is equal to, I have in brackets 30 plus 20. okay, then 30 plus 20, that is 50. Alright, now this thing I am raising it to 4 mod of 10. Okay, now what do you all think 4 mod 10 gives us? So if you're dividing 4 by 10, you are as the remainder you're going to get 4, because the minimum number required to be divisible is 10, right? So we are basically doing 50 raised to 4. Okay, let's see what we get as the answer. So first 50, according to the convention, first inside brackets operation will be executed 50. Here it gets 4, and here you have raised to. All right, let's run it. Okay, I keep forgetting to print the variables. So let's say print answer. Okay, see, you have 6 to 5 and 4 times 0, so 50 raised to 4 gives you this answer. All right, let's move ahead. Now let us guess the output of the following operations. Okay, it'll be a few of the operators that we just learned: membership operator, assignment, then all of this. Okay, let's check. Let's say print in brackets hello is equal to in capital hello. Okay, now as I had mentioned, each different letter has its own ASCII value. Like capital letters and small letters also have different ASCII values. All right, so here using the double equal to symbol, we are basically checking if this hello and this hello is the same or not. Okay, let's run it. See, it gives you false because the ASCII values do not match here. Let's try another one. Remember we had learned just a little bit of the list syntax. Let's try that. In a list I have the numbers 10, 20, 30, and that I am checking with another list that has float values. Okay, but it's actually the same number but float values. Let's see what this gives us. All right, let's run this now. See, you get a true. That's actually the same number, so 0.0 doesn't really matter. Okay, now the same thing let us do with the is and in operators. Okay, let's check print 2, 3 is 2, 3. Okay, is was the identity operator. Remember, we are checking if both the identities are the same or not. This should be the same, right? See, but what we get is false. You might want to know why. Because this list is different and this is another list. These are two different lists containing the same elements, but the list is different. Therefore, it gives us false. Now let us try a membership operator. Okay, remember the membership operator in. Let's try that. Let's say print D in do a deer. I hope many of you all know this song. It's very famous. Okay, do a deer. Okay, see, you have D in the word deer. Okay, so it should give us true, right? Let's run it. See, we get a true, that yes, D is the string D is present in do a deer. Okay, Actually it is do the deer. Okay, sorry. All right, let's move ahead. Now let's take the last example in this operator session. This will be on ternary operators. Okay, so remember the first syntax that we had learned, that first put the if condition statement and then put the if statement, put the else statement, and give the next put the else conditional statement. Okay, so let me just revise it with an example in case you are confused. So let's take a variable a is equal to 5 and b is equal to 10. Okay, now what I want to do is print I want to print 10 is divisible by 5. Okay, and I want to check it using the ternary operator. So first let's store it in a variable result. Okay, so let's say result is equal to print, let's say 10 is divisible by 5. Okay, 10 is divisible by 5. Okay, this is our true condition that we want the interpreter to print. Okay, now let us give our if condition. So print this only if b mod a, okay, that is 10 mod 5 is equal to 0. So only if the remainder of a certain division is 0, it will mean that both the operands divide each other completely. Okay, so now that the if condition is done, let's print the else. You say else print 10 is not divisible by 5, which is actually false. So what we want the computer to print, the interpreter to print, is 10 is divisible by 5. Alright, let's see if we are correct. Let's run it. There you go. We have 10 is divisible by 5. Okay, so now we have revised almost all the operators. We practiced so many problem statements on these. So I really hope you all have understood everything clearly, and if you need practice more examples, go through the internet or go through a certain book, Python book that you have, solve more examples and just make yourself perfect in it. Now that you all know about ternary operators, you all have had a little sneak into the conditional statements, that is if and else. So next lecture we'll be concentrating totally on conditional statements. I hope it will be easy for you all to understand then. So that's all for the session on operators. I'll meet you all next time again with a new lecture. Till then, practice and learn and just get better at whatever you're doing. Alright, see you later. Bye bye.